What comes to mind when you see these photos? Would you hire this person or this person? Would you want your friend to date this person or this person? Would you trust this person to watch your kids or this person? For every person, your mind conjured a list of words and swayed you one way or the other. The way you defined them is based on how they presented themselves in these photos. Each person has presented a persona, some of which work for them, some that don't. There is a formula to ensure your persona tells the truth about you, and I'm going to show you exactly what that is. So what is a persona? The dictionary defines it as the personality a person projects in public. In short, your image. Many people don't even realize how their image is causing them to be perceived, and some deliberately present a persona to cast a specific impression. However, what they present, whether on purpose or not, often doesn't reflect their true personality and can mislead how others see them. The reality is, we've all wanted to fit in, be trusted, and appear confident and successful at some point in our lives. But what if our persona is misleading, not only to others, but to ourselves? When your persona sends the wrong message, people misinterpret you. If you, like this person, send a message that may deter someone from buying from or hiring you, then you may miss out on opportunities and have to work harder than someone who sends a more desirable message. In fact, the persona you project can either propel you forward or cause you to be unfairly judged. Let's look closer at this. Make note of your reaction to this image. Despite this being a professional photo, her expression lacks emotion. By leaning slightly backwards with her arms crossed, she has an antisocial, closed body posture. Your reaction could have included words that were not in her favor. Now, examine your reaction to this photo of her. Here, she is leaning in, smiling. She has a warm, open body posture, and she conveys warmth and connection. You probably had more favorable words for her in this photo. The point is, she'll still be judged, but the second photo tells a more favorable story about her. The photo she uses can influence how others perceive and engage with her. Judgment is all around us. People judge based on how we look, how we carry ourselves, and what we say, whether they see us in person or online. We can't avoid judgment. It's necessary for survival. Even at the earliest stages of human development, we judge. In fact, infants have a clear preference for more symmetrical faces. Babies use judgment to assess how well a person can care for them. We're constantly told not to judge, yet we're always doing things to get people to like and choose us. Think of someone who answers the phone in their radio voice. Like a radio host, they change the tone, inflection, and quality of their voice to cast a more favorable impression so that people will like them. This is also done with photos and videos that have been filtered to project desirability for online dating. Since people will judge, you might as well present a persona that leaves the most positive, impactful impression, one that clearly tells who you are. Keep in mind, you don't have to be the most perfect, physically attractive, or stylish person. The common misconception is that you must always present yourself as attractive. Many people only use images that they believe make them look great. And some don't use any images at all because they're self-conscious about their appearance. I'm sure you've experienced the mystery profile. Consider the iconic personas of George Clooney, Oprah Winfrey, or Tim Cook. We know who they are because they know who they are. They live in the essence of who they are to such an extent that consistency can be expected from their personal brand's image. You could probably guess how they would dress for an event, or even what type of car they would drive. While celebrities with access to stylists and designers may find it easier to maintain an impressive persona, know that this isn't just for celebrities, it's for everything. So, What is the formula to ensure that your persona reflects the most authentic version of you? Start by accepting judgment and using it to your advantage. Then decide what personality traits best define you and show up with those personality traits. This allows people to more accurately judge you without even knowing anything about you, which leaves an impression that works for you rather than against you. Let me explain. I began my career as a print model and web designer. At job interviews and auditions, people would always say, just be yourself, which confused me. Should I show up in fuzzy slippers and no makeup on? Because that was me 80% of the time. Every time I heard, just be yourself or be authentic, it reinforced the fact that I was an imposter, a pretender trying to fit in, wearing a persona I had created, but that wasn't fooling anyone but myself. You see, my persona was shaped by a series of events that led to my lack of confidence. So being myself wasn't obvious. And the comment only made me put up a more protective, elaborate persona. Our personas are regularly influenced by the opinions of others. Based on how someone treats you, you could gain confidence or be doubtful. You could build trust or resentment. Or you could discover or lose your identity entirely. My father was a controlling perfectionist who'd say, "What is wrong with you?" So often, it eventually shaped my beliefs. I carried this with me throughout my life, bouncing around from group to group, always trying to fit in, be liked, and prove my worth. Perhaps you can relate. When I began marketing myself as a photographer, I used images that I believed others would like and admire, rather than who I truly was. The photos were professionally taken, and in my mind, they portrayed me as beautiful and interesting, which was the polar opposite of how I felt. The goal was to attract people to work with me. Mission accomplished. But I was attracting all of the wrong people who undervalued me and wanted to sleep with me. My personal branding efforts were working against me, and it was making me miserable. By using photos that made me look sexy, I was sending the wrong impression. I wanted to come across as confident, friendly, and trustworthy, yet I was coming across as sultry, devious, and cold. Not to mention, these photos had nothing to do with being a photographer. Once I started using images that truly reflected who I was, I immediately went from uncomfortable interactions to people who were excited to work with me. Now, the first thing I ask my clients is, how would you describe yourself? What are words we could use to describe Sarah? Would you hire her for your business? If you were looking for someone who was warm and outgoing, you might not hire her based off of this photo. To find Sarah's personality traits, I asked her to describe herself today. She said, determined, hardworking, and confident. I then asked her to describe herself as a 6-year-old child. She said playful, creative, and compassionate. As you can see, her photo conveys very few of these words and actually gives the wrong impression. After capturing an image that more accurately reflects her personality traits, you can clearly see the difference in how she comes across. Remember this person, the one you questioned whether or not you trusted to watch your kids? When asked about his words, Eric said, fair, logical, understanding, introspective, and creative. As a kid, he said, annoying, inquisitive, creative, fair, and compassionate. His friends and family described him as funny, creative, know-it-all, determined, inquisitive, optimistic, smart, and caring. As you can see, a few of these words repeat. These are his core words and define a large part of his personality trait. Core words are obvious to both himself and others. From here, Eric chose more words that he liked. Going back to his photo, you can clearly see that it gives the wrong impression. With an image that better represents his personality traits, It gives an accurate impression of him. Eric is an inventor, father of 2 lovely girls, and my brother. And I can assure you, he is great at babysitting. And yes, he's a bit of a know-it-all. You can do this too. Find your personality traits and show who you really are. This is not the aspirational you or how you imagine yourself to be. This is who you actually are at your core, who you've always been. Most of the time, I find that people refer back to childhood words that they've forgotten along the way. Consider how you're showing up online. Are you using images that match your personality traits? By defining and presenting who you actually are, your persona becomes the gateway to allow others to clearly see the real you, which is liberating. End the misleading persona and make your image tell the truth about you.